You have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Visa Franchise. Excited to have on Gerald Padilla, Vice President of Joorney Business Plans. We've been working with Joorney for about 8 years now. They've helped with hundreds of our E2 Visa clients, and now we've partnered together, them supporting us with the EB2 NIW clients, where we're more focused on proposed endeavor, really diving in on what the EB2 applicants can be doing in the United States, blocking and tackling together with their immigration attorney, and then Gerald working on the personnel plan, the business plan with his colleagues. So Gerald, thanks so much for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me, and good to see you, Patrick. Happy to be part of the webinar. Give what kind of insights I may have on the EB2. It's been quite popular recently, very common. We found a lot of success with our business plans, and working with the attorneys that we do, from all over the world. It's been quite a last 2 years. Again, it's been quite popular. So happy to help.
That's what I've seen. I was pulling up the adjudication application trends. The numbers in the last decade have gone up, where it used to be 5,000 per year 10 years back. Now there were 22,000 I-140 applications for the NIW. It's gone up, 400%, 500% over the last decade?
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity for, applicants not from treaty countries, and to be able to invest in the U.S., show that they will have a national level impact, create jobs for U.S. citizens, and really contribute their skills to the U.S. market. So yeah, I'm glad that we've seen some growth in that space.
And I think you guys are uniquely positioned because out of those 22,000 applications, I'd imagine you were somewhat involved in 5-7% of them. Over 1,000 EB2 NIW business plans, right?
Yes. Since we work with so many great partners, lawyers, consultants around the world, we've really seen an uptick from countries such as Brazil, Russia, India as well. Really highly skilled applicants. Both on the EB2 personal side, but also entrepreneurs that are looking to come to America again and have that national level impact and to apply for the EB2, definitely.
And I want to go through those two tracks. At Visa Franchise, we call them the employee track, where we're going to help make sure they're upskilled in English, have their CV looking really good, get them recruiters so they can get the best possible job. If they're looking to go and be an employee on the EB2, as well as helping those entrepreneurs, those consultants further flesh out what they're going to be doing in the United States. And a big focus is on job creation.
Right.
So we can help. We help those entrepreneurs with the LLC, EIN number, business bank account, and then work with Joorney together on the business plan. But I'd love to hear from you how you kind of provide different services for that employee track versus someone that's going to set up a consulting practice or create a company and hire 5, 10, 20 employees over the coming 5 years.
Yep. That's actually a great question, and something that should certainly be clarified, because there's a lot of questions about it. And we really have two directions we can go with the narrative in the business plan and how we'll present the case. As you mentioned, as far as the employee track, what we call an EB2 personal business plan, we will more highlight the applicant's educational, professional background, any kind of accomplishments, achievements, and go through kind of their national level merits, why their talents can contribute to the U.S. market, will most likely be hired by a U.S. company, and then be able to, again, kind of share their specialty skills with that U.S. company and have that impact. Something that's very popular with pilots, with doctors, really different kind of industries that have shortages of that kind of employment have really the highest chances. And so we will go and do strong market research and industry analysis on that industry. We have access to databases that gives us up-to-date statistics. So we'll utilize those statistics to show that applicant will have a niche in the market, and that they'll be able to fulfill a need that the U.S. does have, and to address those 3 prongs of DANASAR that are crucial for the EB2. And again, we'll go through talking about their experience and their skills in the business plan, and mostly just, again, focus on their personal achievements.
So how does that work for a pilot? Someone's a pilot, they're sick of life in Dubai because they know they're going to get kicked out in 10 years. They can't retire there. They need a more permanent place for them and their family. How does a pilot that's stationed in Dubai working for a big carrier, how is he able to go through the NIW and have that personal plan? Does he already need to have like a job offer from an American carrier, like an American Airlines, or is the prospect of a job offer good enough, and identifying that there's all the shortages, whether it's United, American Airlines, et cetera?
Yeah, good question. So number one, we always want to start with hiring an experienced immigration attorney or a consultant that will be able to kind of qualify the applicant to see if they do fit for the specific visa. And then engaging that attorney, and then also coming to us to create the presentation and put it into a form in which we know that's successful with immigration. They don't necessarily need a job offer yet at that time, a standing job offer. Again, we just need to kind of, in that business plan, that's what we need to show, that they are a very qualified individual that will most likely be hired because there is a need in the market. Again, with pilots, as many pilots as they laid off during the pandemic, as far as U.S. carriers, really gives a lot of opportunity to foreign pilots that may have a job and have sufficient flight hours. We've seen kind of flight hours be a really determinant as far as success, because they do want more experienced pilots than others. Same thing that goes with doctors and other kind of specialty workers, I would say.
Well, I'm curious to hear on the doctor's side, like, are these doctors that are like on OPT status and then they're switching to the EB2 NIW, or what type of doctors are moving, and what's that personnel plan kind of look like?
Yeah, good question. So I've run into a lot of, for example, a obstetrics doctor, a OBGYN type doctor. That was a doctor in Russia, for example, but not necessarily can they be a doctor here in the US, because they would need to pass really a lot of different kinds of certifications. And so they often do either kind of work as an individual and use their skills to be hired by a US company. A lot of times also, and this is kind of transitioning to the EB2 company realm, sometimes they'll create a consulting company themselves, and that consulting company will be hired by a US company, and that way they can lend their skills in that way. And then also, again, creating jobs for US citizens. But now we're kind of moving into the EB2 company space. But yes, so also there are some nurses that do have reciprocity from certain countries. By having a nursing certification in that country, they can be carried over here, and certain other kind of certifications. So those are a little bit easier to place.
So you've done some nursing, you've done some EB2 NIWs for nurses?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And for those, I mean, coming from Canada, Mexico, the TN visa, there's a lot of non-immigrant paths where the nurses could come much faster and not have to rely on getting sponsored, and some employer that sadly might be repressing your wage, and the nurse can take command of their own destiny and getting the green card themselves.
It's true. They could also go the H-1B route, try to win a lottery as well. So there's a lot of different kinds of
15% chance this last time around.
Exactly. If they're really feeling lucky, they can play the lottery. So there's at least a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different avenues they might be able to take in order to get here. On the other side, as you were speaking, as far as the EB2 company business plan, we will certainly focus on the background of and the talents of that individual, that applicant, and there will be a large portion of the business plan that will speak about their past and their experiences, their accomplishments as well. However, the focus on it will be more on the positive impact on the U.S. economy that the actual business will have and its operations. So we'll show how many jobs will be created by the company, how much tax revenue might be generated from the revenues they'll generate and the salaries they'll pay out. And we'll do strong market research on the actual industry that they're operating in, such as maybe a trucker that starts a trucking or logistics company. Again, there is a shortage of logistics. There's a supply chain issue. We can highlight that in the business plan and use up-to-date statistics to show, again, why they're going to be able to kind of fulfill that need and that shortage and have that national level impact, helping us, move around cargo around the U.S. and loosen things up. So,
what are like some kind of like crazy businesses or crazy professions where the attorney's like, hey, Gerald, I need your help with this business plan. And you're just like, oh my God, like I didn't think this is going to work for the EB2 NIW. And then they get approved and you're like, oh my, this is awesome.
Recently we've had a lot of, out of areas closer to Russia in itself, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. We've had a lot of different kinds of, I guess, MMA fighters and wrestlers.
Oh, wow.
That come out of there. And so out of that area, and boxers as well. So just a lot of mixed martial arts that are starting different kinds of academies and gyms in the US. And to show that they do have these specialty skills, look at these awards they've won, and to create an academy or a school in the US. And again, to lend their knowledge into the US market and to help their staff and learn the world of MMA or fighting and whatnot. So that's
really cool, because I know traditionally it was like O1, EB1A, and it was like only if you're the top 5 in the world. But it seems like with the job creation opportunity, if these mixed martial artists are opening their own studios and employing 5-7 Americans to start and then scaling up and opening up 3 more, that's a pretty big impact.
Yeah. And since they're pretty well known already, also they kind of also work in their community once they get here, but they're pretty well known, accomplished athletes. And so it's kind of easy to show that they've won, people who have won medals and different kinds of world championships. So they're extremely credible in their field and experts at that.
So recapping on the consulting and employee path, the national interest is big time into the taxes that the U.S. is going to incur, having this entrepreneur here in the United States, job creation. Can you think of anything else on kind of hitting it hard on the national interest, working with the immigration attorney and just saying, okay, we have to check these boxes and really demonstrate this for the national interest?
Yeah, kind of also showing key milestones and achievements that they do have plans into the future to either expand, as you said, and show that that it's a sustainable business model, that they're going to have job creation, but mostly also preservation of those jobs, that it's going to continue to grow consistently or at least maintain. And so that's very important that they also have a clear marketing and sales strategy, because in order to keep those employees, you need to keep clients. And so it's just about kind of keeping keeping your business afloat, growing it, and having a kind of a genuine approach in order to grow the business.
Why do you think more people don't have a business plan or a personnel plan for the EB2 NIW? Because I know you guys are the market leader. You're having over 1,000 of these, but last year there were 22,000. And from what I understand, a lot of times it's you guys are coming in kind of late to the process where there's already been a request for further evidence.
Sure. And to kind of go also back with that, in both cases, really to strengthen the case, it's also very important to have strong market research and industry analysis by real credible sources, not just from Wikipedia or anything like that, but actual IBIS World, Statista, different credible sources that you can cite, and use real-time data so that, again, you can show that there is a need and that they're meeting that unmet need. As far as the EB2 business plan for personal applicants, a lot of personal applicants, of course, are experts about their background and what they've accomplished up until this point. And so they will talk about it in kind of a biography form to show, again, in the kind of a personal summary of sorts. And so they don't believe that they need to rely on us to create the business plan because, of course, they know more about themselves than we do. However, they don't have access to those databases so that we can show, again, why those skills are very important and will have a national level impact. Also, to keep in mind that the style of writing of the business plan is presented to a U.S. immigration officer, and there is what's called the format of 3 prongs of Danosaur that need to be addressed. And so they don't necessarily realize that the business plan for immigration is quite different than ones that you would submit for any other audience. And so they kind of independently do it themselves and see what happens, just save themselves some money and some time. But in the end, it doesn't necessarily do that for them. They have to kind of go backwards and start from the beginning again. So it's always good to have a good, strong business plan that's formatted specifically for the EB2 in the beginning to avoid that RFE and to do double work. It's always best to have a good first impression with U.S. immigration, show them a good, strong, professionally written business plan, because that goes a long way in communicating that they are indeed a businessman, a credible business plan that understands to hire other individuals and outsource when they don't have those specific skills. I mean, that's just part of it being a good business person.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big thing is just like for the applicant to like take a step back and like see how much their time is worth now in their country and how much money they could be making once they get to the United States.
Right.
Because I mean, if you're if you're doing a mixed martial arts in a mid-sized city in Uzbekistan, through your academy, what you might be making $2,000 a month, maybe $3,000 a month.
Right.
US, 10K, 12K, and then
Right.
you scale up from there. So by not paying the few $1,000s for a top business plan writer and not going through this process, you could delay the process 6 months and have to reapply and extra government fees.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing that I tell our clients, especially once a potential for these EB2 applicants, a lot of them right away, if they're going to go the employee path, the personnel path, they could be making 100 to 300K plus, where maybe in their home country, they're making 20 to 120K.
Yeah, certainly the opportunity cost. The sooner they get here, the sooner they are to market, and really get to start establishing themselves and growing their business. So definitely, I would totally agree that it's better to do it the first time rather than have to go backwards. Time is the most important commodity we have.
Any type of profiles that you and your team are excited on when you get the questionnaire directly from the client or from the attorney, where it's like, okay, this is going to be we've already done like 100 of these cases. Like we know the data points, we know they get approved at like 95% plus. Any type of like, whether it's like entrepreneur or personnel tracks that you're very excited about when you get that questionnaire?
Yeah, I mean, I do like working with pilots because everyone has been on a delayed flight recently, and I feel like I'm helping people reduce those delayed flights and shortages of staffing and things like that. Hopefully, we can fix this part when it comes to airlines. It's the biggest headache, so I do enjoy when we get a successful airline pilot and he's happy to be here in the US and using his skills here. I also have seen a lot of different kinds of really talented individuals in spaces like solar panels or AI. And those are really hot topics right now as far as renewable energy, and being able to contribute their skills and their expertise in those fields, because it does have a national level impact. Hopefully we can use those skills that they have and fix, I don't know, our energy crisis and whatnot, and be able to use renewable energy, which will, again, is definitely a national level impact. AI, again, there's very talented individuals out there in other countries, and I don't see why they shouldn't just work here in the US and help a US company and support us and be able to lend their knowledge base to a US company. So,
any things that the applicant should know to make the process easier on the whole EB2 NIW side, or specifically on the proposed endeavor and business plan side?
sure. So we'll start, I guess, on the EB2 company side, because that seems to be a little bit more complicated. Most people already know their background and their experience and their skills on the personal side. Basically, it's just providing us those achievements, CV, any kind of awards, things like that they might have attained over the years. And us looking through their LinkedIn and just gathering the different kinds of details there. And then expanding on that and doing the market research, industry analysis. Whereas the EB2 company route is tends to be a little bit less clear, because sometimes the client in itself doesn't know exactly what kind of business model they want to start, and all the different kind of details that go with that. What kind of staffing will they need? What will they be paying those employees? What location? All these type of factors, obviously, they're huge when it comes to starting a business.
Yeah.
Now not sure where to start or to end with that. And so for us to write a business plan, we need to have a clear business model and to understand its operations clearly and how they're going to make money. So we need to know a clear business model. What will their products and services be? How much will they be charging? Do they have any specific clients, B2B clients they're working with, B2C, any demographics, so that we can focus that market research and industry analysis on that specific demographic, in order to show, again, they're going to be able to get customers from there and their product makes sense. And therefore, if they do have a niche in the market, our financial projections make sense and our hiring projections make sense, because they're actually supported by, again, the data. And so just having a good business plan, having an experienced immigration attorney or consultant that knows the in and outs, how to also strengthen the case based on their past experiences. Yeah. So yeah, as far as the EB2 company, just showing, again, that national level impact, showing the market research, industry analysis, having a good summary to show, again, why that addresses those three prongs of Danisar.
I think the attorney is really key, because we've seen this with other visa categories that we've gone and done the H-1B for employees, EB3, and maybe the attorney is really good at E2, EB5, L1, whatever visa category. But if they don't do really big volume of that category that you as applicant is moving forward with, you can be kind of the guinea pig, and they're learning as they go with you. So at Visa Franchise, we provide a service, basically narrowing it down to 2 attorneys, 3 attorneys tops, that have a very high approval rate, and we'll be doing, 50, 100 plus EB2 NIWs a year. Or if it's on the E2 visa side, they're doing serious volume on the E2 visa side. And that's something that I've seen, that the volume really matters when you're putting together this position, as well as partnering with folks like Joorney that can complement, and you're doing volume yourself, and that there's a lot of shared knowledge to be had that benefits the applicant.
Yeah, I think it's all about kind of exposure. And also, sometimes it's about different kinds of seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. of course, as we with experience in the different kinds of different scenarios, we're able to adjust our approaches. Also, kind of receiving RFEs definitely is a lesson. By kind of analyzing RFEs that have been submitted, we've been able to kind of be proactive with our business plans and kind of supply the information before U.S. immigration asks for it. And so we've been able to evolve our business plan as well with the times to tailor it to be able to address those RFEs proactively, so we don't have to do it. A good point is also if they do work with us on the initial business plan, we do create the RFE or RFE response at no extra cost to the lawyer or the client. That's included with our service, so we don't charge any more for it. We will support again, updating the business plan with the lawyer's guidance or crafting an RFE response on any business plans that we create. So it also motivates us to create a good, strong business plan in the first place. But again, we know RFEs happen for one reason or another, or no reason at all. But we're here for you in that case as well.
Gerald, we have some questions coming in, and I want to start with Facundo. Which industries or fields have a higher likelihood of success for the EB2 NIW applications?
Sure. And that's actually a good question. So if we're talking about, it really depends again on if we're talking on the personal side or on the company side. On the company side, the industries or fields are, again, the ones that will create the most employment opportunities and job creation and sustain those and have not marginal revenues, have strong revenues that will get a good amount of clients so that there is tax revenue that's spun out from those.
What do you usually want to see? Like in year 4 or 5 of the business plan, they're clearing $1 million, clearing $2 million of revenue.
That really, again, we kind of leave that to the lawyer's experience on what they've seen in the past. So some clients are a little bit more aggressive than others, and some aren't. It's really hard to generalize in that space. It's kind of a case-by-case basis. But industries and fields, again, the ones that create the most jobs do have kind of a broad national level impact, and that there are shortages in it, both on the personal side and the EB2 companies.
Well, talking from our experience on the franchise side, whether they're applying for the E2 visa or EB2 NIW with a franchise, or even EB5, hospitality, healthcare, as well as education. There's some healthcare businesses on the home care side, even non-medical, where you start the business for 150K and the average revenues are 1.5 million, profit margin 15 to 25%. And it's a critical need where you're going to have 50 caregivers and you could scale up the business having 300 caregivers, a lot of American jobs created.
Yes. And so, you bring in another good point. That's another niche that we've seen is kind of elderly care. Just because of the boomers, and it's easy to draw a impact because there is a shortage there as well. And so there's a lot of people getting old and not enough people, to take care of them, unfortunately. And so, assisted living.
And then we have Andrea. Hi, are there any specific strategies or approaches that can make an EB2 NIW business plan more compelling and persuasive?
Yes. Again, having a clear business plan that's formatted clearly for an immigration officer to clearly identify those 3 prongs of Dinosaur, which is the requirement. Having, again, credible industry and market analysis. Showing clear tables and financial projections, hiring plans. But also having the client supply us with enough details. Really, that's one of the main points is just kind of gathering the information from the client, because the more detailed we gather from the client, the more detailed of a business plan that we can create. The different kinds of maybe talents that they have or the different experiences, we can really draw on that and to show, again, that they are a national interest, and that we should keep their skills so that they can contribute to the U.S. So, that's the answer to that.
And we have a question from Ed Gonzalez. Can you give us an example, please, of one scenario in which the renewal of a E2 visa was rejected? And I know Ed added a few questions. I want to specify we're not immigration attorneys. On our side, we're really focused on finding and analyzing the business, working with the entrepreneur on the proposed business endeavor, getting the IN number fast so they can open up the bank account, LLC, all that non-legal work. And Gerald and his team are focused on the proposed endeavor as we've gone through today. Speaking from experience, though, at Visa Franchise, to my knowledge, we've never had a denial on a renewal. We have helped clients that came to us after a denial and they needed to invest in a business, a substantial amount, was going to meet the marginality requirements. Franchise met that quite nicely. But the cases that are rejected for renewal, you didn't follow the business plan. So
Yep.
Gerald and his team created a nice business plan. You told them a lot of what was going to be in the business plan, and you did not hire. You said you were going to hire 5 Americans, and you hired 1 contractor.
Right.
You said you were going to flip 20 homes, and you were doing a house flipping business, and you flipped 2 apartments. So if you don't do your business plan and you don't do what you told the U.S. government, they're not going to renew your E2 visa, most likely.
Yeah, and you give up. You bring up a good point as far as not following the track and raising red flags and not creating enough jobs, or creating enough being just marginal, not creating enough revenue to be beneficial back to the U.S. And so we do keep in mind when it comes to a renewal, when we create their initial business plan, that we don't overpromise. Both in hiring and in financial projections. We'd rather keep that somewhat conservative so that they underpromise and overdeliver rather than overpromise and underdeliver. Because once you do that, you kind of bring in red flags and there's just more questions that will arise from there. And so you want to keep them somewhat conservative, a little bit different than a business plan that you would maybe submit for investors or for a bank loan, because in those kind of cases, you seem to inflate your revenues. And here it kind of works negatively against you in this case. So an example of a scenario of renewal case when it was rejected, it's exactly that. It's having a company that, we'll say even a online company that doesn't necessarily need a brick and mortar. And then again, during that renewal point, they haven't created enough jobs or it wasn't marginal enough, and then they were rejected. But renewals, again, are renewal rejections are a little bit more rare than just off the bat initial E2.
We don't have, when we started Visa Franchise back in 2015, I thought we were going to have a ton of renewals, but it's like over 90% of our clients, they get a green card somehow. So whether it's through the EB2 NIW, growing that business and applying for the EB2 NIW, spouse applies EB2 or EB3 sponsorship, EB5 direct, EB5 regional center. Maybe you're single and you get married to an American. I think a lot can happen in 5 years, but working with your attorney, keep the doors open to be eligible for EB1, EB2, EB3, EB5 potentially, and don't close doors prematurely if the end goal is a green card. Yeah,
there is a lot of different directions for the green card, as you said, E2 to EB5. Nowadays, I've seen some E2 to go the EB2 direction instead of the renewal. Because again, it's easy to kind of show, especially if they had a business that's been renewed over the last 10 years. So it's kind of easier to show that their business is going to keep on running in the same way.
Gerald, it was great to have you on. Really value our partnership and look forward to working on many E2 and EB2 NIW cases in the future. Thanks again for joining.
Yes, thank you for having me as well, Patrick. It's been a pleasure. If anybody has any questions, I'm open to answer anybody as far as the EB2 or any other visas. We'd be happy to help you with Joorney Business Plans.
Thank you, Gerald. Take care.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, Patrick.